let's dive right into this explainer. Today, we're exploring some absolutely profound teachings from the Words of Wisdom chapter on how to navigate the absolute highest peaks and the lowest valleys of human life. You can think of this material as a survival guide for the human soul. It literally charts out how to handle everything from that massive, ego-boosting success we all crave to devastating, seemingly hopeless failure. It's an incredible journey, so let's just get right into it.
So, how do you navigate life when your mind constantly swings left and right? You know the feeling, right? One day you're up, the next you're totally down. The text points out our human tendency to become completely disoriented by our shifting circumstances, pushed and pulled by whatever's happening in the moment. Things go well, we veer wildly in one direction. They go poorly, we swing completely the opposite way. Honestly, it's an exhausting way to live, isn't it?
To anchor ourselves against all that constant swinging back and forth, the source material offers this brilliant physical metaphor. It urges us to use the Buddha's words as a guiding compass. Think about it. Just like a traveler in the ancient world relied on the North Star to avoid, wandering off a cliff in the dark, we desperately need an internal, unchanging point of reference. We need it so we never lose our true direction. This compass is made of words of wisdom, teachings that keep us steady regardless of what the weather's doing outside.
Which brings us to Section 1, the trap of arrogance, and how we navigate success.
Now, human beings naturally default to arrogance during prosperous times. When things are going perfectly, it is incredibly easy to overestimate your own power. We've all been there. You start claiming all those brilliant results as entirely your own doing. Well, the source warns that this is a dangerous illusion. To combat this, we need a safety mechanism, engraving words of self-admonition into our hearts. Essentially, this means actively, daily, reminding yourself to stay grounded, precisely when you feel like you're sitting on top of the world.
The crucial point here is that hoarding the credit for your victories actually disconnects you from the reality of how success works. When you expand your ego to the point of arrogance, you completely lose sight of the immense support you receive from others and from the greater forces of life itself. The text stresses that prosperity is actually a test. If you overvalue your own abilities and forget gratitude, that peak of success, it quickly becomes a cliff edge you're about to fall right over.
But what happens when we fall? Let's look at Section 2, Hardships as Soul Whetstones, where we're reframing hardships.
This is where the teachings get incredibly empowering. The text radically reframes human suffering, stating unequivocally that failure, frustration, and misfortune are not random punishments. No, instead, they exist solely as a whetstone to polish your soul. Think about how a dull blade is sharpened. It has to be violently ground against a hard, rough stone. Sparks fly, metal is scraped away. It looks destructive, sure, but it is literally the only way the blade becomes sharp and useful.
The author even uses the modern equivalent, sandpaper. By looking at difficulties as sandpaper meant to refine us, we realize that the friction we're experiencing is actually a preparation phase. We aren't being ground down into dust. Our inner light is just being polished so it can shine brighter. When you view your current hardships through this lens, you realize you're not at a dead end at all. Actually, scratch that, you're preparing to enter a golden path of growth.
And this leads to one of the most uplifting takeaways in the entire source. Because we are part of a greater, eternal life, described here as being part of the Buddha's great life force, permanent defeat is simply an illusion. There's no absolute bottom. As long as we learn the lesson, as long as we let that sandpaper do its work, we will rise again. There is truly no such thing as failure or the bottom of misfortune in this world.
Moving on to Section 3, Walking the Middle Way, which the text calls the Royal Road.
Okay, let's dive into the ultimate solution presented in the text, Walking the Middle Way. Now, this isn't just about playing it safe. It's described as the absolute royal road of life. It's a path that requires you to remain remarkably humble, unpretentious, and deeply grateful to others and the Buddha, regardless of your external circumstances. Walking the middle way ensures that your success is actually sustainable. It's a shared phenomenon, not a solo act.
There is a very sharp dividing line between what the text considers false success and true success. If your victory causes another's downfall, or if your wealth requires someone else's injury or misfortune, you've strayed entirely from the middle way. True success is defined as a path that brings life to all people without exception. It's a total win-win scenario on a spiritual level.
And that leads us perfectly into Section 4, the harvest of altruism and returning the joy.
So what do we do when we achieve that true success? The crucial point is that true cultivation is rooted entirely in love and altruism. The happiness you obtain on the middle way is not yours alone. It must be returned to the many people around you. Personal joy is meant to be a tool to uplift and save others. If you just lock the rewards away in a vault for yourself, the source material warns you are missing the entire point of the journey.
This builds into a really beautiful, continuous sequence of action. First, you cultivate your own field diligently. That's your personal development, your hard work. Second, you harvest the abundant fruit, the wheat, the rice. But the final, absolute most important step is distribution. You don't build a massive, thriving agricultural field just to hoard the grain in your own kitchen, right? You build it to feed the entire village.
The text makes a very realistic note here too. Even if you face jealousy, criticism, or people mocking your ideals while you are doing the hard work of building your field, you absolutely must persist. Because giving away the fruits of your labor, distributing that harvest, is the very essence of existence. It's the definition of active love, and for sure it's the absolute secret to sustaining true success in your life.
As we wrap up this explainer, I want you to look at your own internal compass. Examine the path you're currently walking, whether you feel like you're standing on a mountaintop right now or grinding against the sandpaper down in a valley. Ask yourself this one vital question. Is your success bringing life to all? Are you hoarding your harvest or are you feeding the village? It's a provocative thought to leave you with, but answering it honestly might just be the absolute key to finding your true North Star. Thanks for learning with me today, and keep walking that middle way.